and welcome to our presentation on the expansion into the international markets for the Dupree Candy Company. My name is Kyle Herrick, and I will be guiding you through this presentation today. For our agenda today, we'll start with a company history and background, followed by our international expansion plan as a whole. We'll touch on considerations for both the Canadian and Mexican markets, and cover an overview of our marketing plan. After that, we'll touch on the considerations for our financial impacts and have a conclusion to this presentation followed by a Q&A session. First, we're going to go ahead and cover some background and historical information on the Dupree Candy Company. Founded in Lincoln, Nebraska back in 1980, the Dupree Candy Company is a privately owned and operated business. The company has grown from its humble beginnings to what it is today, employing over 800 employees nationwide with 3 manufacturing plants which are located in the states of Washington, Nebraska, and South Carolina. The company got its start from its namesake candy bar, but has expanded its product line to include chewing gum, hard candies, soft chews, and variations from its original candy bar. The company has primarily operated working with partnerships and distribution companies in the United States. The company has chosen not to utilize a private fleet of vehicles to deliver its products. So the company has decided at this point we're ready for the next chapter in our history, and it is time for the company to expand into the international markets. To start this chapter off, our goal is to expand into the Canadian and Mexican markets. The unique challenge about this expansion is that each market poses a very diverse set of risks, which must be considered and planned for accordingly. Also, considering our manufacturing is near capacity, we will need to look at increasing our manufacturing and labor in order to provide appropriate supply for these markets. Our goal for this plan is to complete our expansion in time for the start of the 2016-2017 fiscal year. The project status will be managed and the expansion progress will be reviewed semi-annually at the mid-year point and the turn of each fiscal year. When looking at the Canadian expansion, it is fair to state that this is the less risky of the two markets. Canada has a stable economy with minimal impact on political and economic corruption. So therefore the risk-reward payout for this expansion is considered to be very favorable. For marketing strategy within Canada, we plan to put a heavy focus on ensuring that we're aware of cultural norms, as this will help us to tailor our long-term advertising within the country. The advertising itself will be predominantly done in English. However, 22% of the country does consider French as their primary language, so we will be duplicating our advertising in French for the areas of the country with a heavy French-speaking population. Like the United States, we will be mimicking our distribution methods by utilizing established distributors already in Canada for our products. Also, because Canada has a population of only 34.8 million people, we will not be investing in a full manufacturing plant within Canada itself. Instead, we'll be shifting our distribution by utilizing our Washington plant as our primary source for product into the Canadian expansion. For comparison's sake, the population of Canada is less than the population of California, so shifting our production accordingly is the safest bet for us at this point. Taking risk into account, expansion into the Mexican market poses significantly greater risks. Mexico City has made major strides in reducing organized crime and the presence of drug cartels within the city, but the rest of the country, especially more rural areas, are still heavily under the influence of crime and drug cartels. This was recently shown by the attacks on a Coca-Cola distributor in the southern state of Guerrero. Risk is very high for both the company resources and employees. In that particular situation, employees were taken hostage, gasoline bombs were used against company property, and trucks carrying Coca-Cola products were hijacked and destroyed. The company was forced to close another plant in the same state just a few months prior in August. Because of risks of this sort, we have elected to build our new manufacturing plant within the United States in one of the border states. The exact location is still being determined, but bids are out to New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas. From there, we will export product from the United States into Mexico and utilize established distributors who already have a presence within the country and are more prepared to take on these risks accordingly. With Mexico, the population of the country is roughly 120 million people. The addition of this manufacturing plant should cover Mexico during the expansion, as well as picking up areas no longer covered by our Washington plant. As the expansion grows and becomes more successful within Mexico, additional manufacturing plants may be considered either within Mexico or continuing within the United States. And when focusing our marketing efforts in Mexico, our goal is to focus heavily on blue-collar workers, as the primary industry in Mexico is manufacturing. Also, because 93% of the country speaks Spanish, that will be the only language for our advertising efforts at this time. For our marketing efforts in both countries, there are three main platforms that we intend to use. First, we'll be utilizing television and radio commercials, which will mimic the themes from our current U.S. advertising. However, all commercials will be reshot and cast with local talent to reflect appropriate cultural differences, and over time we'll better tailor our commercials to fit cultural norms. We'll also be using a direct mail campaign, which will feature the opportunity for consumers to get free samples from a local store. However, a secondary purpose for this campaign will be to gather contact information, so if consumers provide that to us, they'll get a second product of their choosing free of charge. Finally, we'll be utilizing street teams to help us spread the word of our products and distribute free samples. The street teams will be comprised of interns from local universities who are majoring in business, marketing, or another related field. These internships will help provide us with young, energetic people to help us promote our products, and at the same time we'll be providing a valuable service to the universities and the students. It's a win-win really for us in this partnership, and will help us with our community outreach. The street teams will work major events such as concerts, fairs, and festivals, where they can interact with consumers, let them play some games, or even try free samples of our products in order to help spread awareness and create demand for it. With our marketing in each country, oversight teams will be established, and these teams will help us ensure translation accuracy on all advertising, that legal has fully addressed any concerns, and that all language is done appropriately to ensure we're not violating local statutes, and that we're not creating any major gaffes like our friends over at Parker Pens. Back when they started a marketing campaign in Mexico, their slogan translated to, "It won't leak in your pocket and make you pregnant." And we certainly don't want consumers to be afraid our candies are going to cause any unwanted pregnancy. When it comes to financing this expansion, we will be utilizing our private investors, as well as our lending resources already in good standing for the company. Our advertising budget will be given a boost of 50% overall, with a 70-30 split respectively for Mexico and Canada, and will go into effect for fiscal year 2016. This will taper down to 40% in fiscal year 2017, and finally down to 33% in fiscal year 2018. At that point, a full review will be done of our advertising budgets to make sure that all levels are appropriate. Our expansion will have a significant cost, which will include the cost of our new manufacturing plant and increased labor pool. However, with these costs, we still expect a break-even point to be reached roughly 5 years after the expansion has taken place, and at which point we will begin to see a positive return on investment. We're also comfortable that because our labor and manufacturing increases will take place within the United States, no additional research into each market's labor laws and practices are required at this time. In conclusion, we're set to expand our operations internationally into Mexico and Canada, with go-live dates at the beginning of the 2016 fiscal year. To ensure minimal risk for our initial international expansion, manufacturing will be increased within the United States, and we will export into each market using the benefits of the North American Free Trade Agreement. For marketing purposes, we'll place heavy focus on learning about the nuances of each culture, so that over time we can shift away from our U.S. advertising and better tailor our needs to each market. In the meantime, we'll continue to utilize established themes. Our financial burden will be minimal and covered through our private investors and debt lending resources already established with our company, with the goal of seeing a positive return of investment within 5 years. All aspects of this expansion will be reviewed on a semi-annual basis at the midpoint and turning point of each fiscal year. And that concludes our presentation on the international expansion of the Dupree Candy Company. On behalf of our executive team, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to view our presentation, and now I'd like to offer up this opportunity for a question and answer session. Following that, you will be allowed to view a slide that cites our references for the research points within our presentation. Thank you very much for your time, and now I'd like to open the floor to questions.